O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
This is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajdah House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1 ounce 39 millimeter coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahhouse.com.
Greetings, peace, and blessings, everyone.
Happy Thursday. We're going to talk tonight on our calibration process on the accomplishment of the Muslim about the importance of information in developing an economy. And for those of you who have been with us the entire series, we started off our series on the accomplishments of the Muslims by showing a special screening of the movie A Nation of Common Sense, brought to us by the NOI Archives and student minister Carlos Muhammad. We started out there, and then we went into my comparative analysis of our economic conditions in America today versus the economic conditions in the 70s. And to really show you all how, if the program worked then, it can work today. We talked about rolling it forward into the modern times. Then we talked with Brother Bedford. I'm sorry. We spoke with Brother Bedford, our resident economic strategist, and he just really shared some insight into the economy and the economic conditions and the importance of the various components of the economy that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put together. And then I started breaking down like the detailed components. So last week we broke down the importance of real estate and property acquisition. And this week, we're going to talk about the importance of information. And shout out to everybody in the chat. I see Gia's Love. I see Magnolia Crescent Orchards. I see, that's probably Sister Karima. And then I saw Cynthia M. I see Brother Ant D. That's Brother Anthony. I see Sister Aletha. So welcome, everyone. I was going to wait until the end to show this clip. But I think I'll do it at the beginning. I'm not teaching behind the minister, but I want you to hear him talk about the importance of truth before we go into our discussion on how important information is in the establishment of an economy. And this lecture that I'm going to show you, I really recommend that when you all finish this, that you go and study this lecture. It's very powerful. It's from 1993. We're not going to listen to the whole thing. I'm only going to play about maybe the first 7 or 8 minutes. Maybe we'll go up to 10 minutes. I mean, you could just let it go on and on. But I just want us to, again, calibrate our minds to the importance of truth. Because what happens in this world that we live in, there's so many lies and so much stuff that's not real that it makes us sometimes subconsciously think that the truth is not important. And so we're going to we'll look at that. We'll look at about 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes of it just to calibrate our mind. And then we're going to go into our discussion on the importance of information in an economy so that you can understand how, and y'all already know this, how genius the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is in the components of the economic program that he gave us as a template. So just listen to the minister establishing truth. I want you to, most importantly, take a look at how he walks into the Muhammad University gymnasium. Let me put this on here so y'all can, I'm gonna get off.
I'd be so glad when they get here. I about ran out. Allahu Akbar. Here come the premier FOI of the Nation of Islam. A Muhammad of the Quran, a warrior against the forces of evil that have dominated this planet for the last 6,000 years. Allahu Akbar.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. If we prayed all night, all day, for the rest of our lives, we could never thank Allah enough for His coming and raising in our midst a man who will be soon known as the greatest black man to ever walk among us. The messenger of Allah, the Messiah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You all were in such fiery spirit. I'm very happy to be among you and to have an opportunity to share words of wisdom and truth from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm very grateful for each one of you who took time out of your schedules to attend the meeting tonight. I see so many sisters and so many brothers. It's just very gratifying to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our subject deals with truth and falsehood. There can never be unity, peace, and love among us as long as lies are between us. To say that we are brothers, and we are, but to make brotherhood a reality, lies can never be between the brothers or the sisters or in the marriage or in the family. Truth is the basis of unity. Truth is the basis of harmony. Truth is the basis of power. Lies destroy unity. Lies destroy peace and harmony. Lies destroy growth and development. Lies bring about the death of the marriage, the death of the family, the death of the unity, the death and destruction of a people. This is why lies are so detrimental. And this is why we as a people have to learn all over again the value of the truth and the value of being truthful one to the other.
All right. I wanted y'all to keep that in mind, and I put that up here because as we move into our discussion tonight on the accomplishments of the Muslims, and as we break down the components, we broke down real estate last week. This week, we're breaking down information. We want to talk about lies destroy unity. Keep that in mind as we discuss the importance of information in the development of an economy. Keep that in mind, because when we start talking about information warfare, I want you to be able to tie in, and everybody should go back and check that lecture out. Go back. It's on YouTube. It's called The Power of a Lie and the Power of a Truth. So let's get into it. All right. Let's get into this discussion here on information and the importance of information in economics. Y'all all right? Let me know in the chat if y'all doing good, if y'all okay. Get you something to drink, get you some tea. I'm sipping on some chai today. Got a little chai tea right here. Turmeric infused turmeric infused chai tea. Okay. Now, we know that the Muhammad Speaks newspaper was critical to the accomplishments of the Muslims, with over 500,000 issues sold a week at one point. Okay. So go to manifestationclass.com if you have not already, and download the free ebook, The Accomplishments of the Muslims. Today, many of us are in what I call information overload. Everywhere we turn, there is somebody trying to shove information in our face. So we have a large supply of information. Okay. What happens in economics when the supply goes up? Type that in the chat. What happens when supply goes up? Tell me in the chat. When supply goes up, demand goes where? Down. The product becomes cheaper. So the price for the product goes down because the supply is so much. The product then becomes cheaper because there's so much of it. Well, today there is so much information that people are having trouble deciphering it. They don't know who to believe or who to trust. People fabricate stories, and we have 24-hour news with talking heads where they overanalyze every single thing until after a while, there are barely traces of actual facts in their analysis. We are technically still in what is called the information age. Now, when did the information age begin? The information age began around the 1970s, and it's still technically going on today. We're kind of at the end of it. We're taking a shift. I always like to say that now smart is the new rich, because now you got to know what to do with the information. Okay. The information, like I said, it began around the 70s. It also was known as the computer age, the digital age, the new media age. And this era brought about a time period in which people could access information and knowledge easily. The information age formed by capitalizing on advancements in technology, okay? Like the personal computer in the 1970s, to interact with the critical mass, then the interaction of the critical mass of information in the 1990s. So that personal computer was developed in the 70s. They started putting them in homes in the 90s, giving us better and easier access to information. And then as technology began to develop, you began to have apps, and the World Wide Web got faster and faster. The internet became more popular. Now information is at your fingertips, okay? And this massive amounts of information that is readily accessible has completely changed our economy. So even though the economy has changed, information is still an important tool for developing an economy and for waging war. Did y'all hear me? The importance and value of information within economics is huge. It eliminates risk and uncertainty, and it makes it possible to make better choices that will report higher yields. That's what people claim that they need information for. And I talk about this oftentimes in business. I'm the kind of person in business that I don't like people to withhold information from me. If a person works with me or for me or around me, my thing is, give me the good, the bad, and the ugly, because that's all going to be incorporated into my mathematics. Don't take away my choices by not giving me certain information. Okay. So anyway, the massive amounts of information, the importance is the quality of the information, right? So because information is also used in warfare, information warfare has been used in many cases around the world. What is information warfare? What is information warfare? Type that in the chat, because this is a very important concept for us to understand as we understand the purpose of Muhammad Speaks newspaper and the Final Call newspaper and the purpose of all the massive amounts of information that we have out here. Information warfare is any action to deny, exploit, corrupt, or destroy the enemy's information and its functions, protecting ourselves against those actions and exploiting our own military information functions. What did I just say? In business, it is critical that you get the information, and you cannot have key people working with you, for you, and around you who withhold critical information, because really, by them withholding that information, they're either denying you something, they're either exploiting some other truth, they're corrupting a concept or an idea, or maybe even literally destroying what you're doing altogether. So we're all familiar with the propaganda that was created during slavery that helped to justify slavery to people who considered themselves religious, right? Oftentimes, the white slave masters or colonizers or people who transported the slaves, they were made to pray, and they had to memorize certain Bible verses. The first ship was named Jesus. And at times people felt bad about how slaves were treated. So an information system or propaganda was created to help institutionalize slavery and lessen the people's emotional reaction. You see, strategic and wicked information was used to influence people, including the slaves. So they used information to get in your head so that you wouldn't look at the Bible and feel like, this ain't right, what we doing. And this propaganda also helped to discourage people from seeing the institution of slavery in a religious context. So when you read your Bible, you took the whole concept of slavery and moved it over here. So if it said, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, anything that was in there that pointed towards wrongdoing as it related to slavery, the information that was placed out there put you in a position, if you were around back then, to move slavery out of the way and not judge it in that context. This happened with the slaves too, because they didn't see themselves as being good enough or on the same level. Horrible, horrible stuff. And so then they could then justify taking away our names, taking away our rights, raping us, making studs out of our men, beating us, not allowing us to own things, abusing us. The institution that was created with information put those conditions together. Okay? This is information warfare. All right. Information warfare is a concept involving the battle space, use, and management of information and communication technology in pursuit of a competitive advantage over an opponent. I'm going to say that again. Information warfare is a concept involving the battle space, use, and management of information and communication technology in pursuit of a competitive advantage over an opponent. Information warfare is the manipulation of information trusted by a target without the target's awareness, so that the target will make decisions against their interests, but in the interest of the one conducting information warfare. Y'all better be listening to this. As a result, it is not clear when information warfare begins, ends, and how strong or destructive it is. This is why I keep saying, when you look at the news, you can't tell the difference between marketing or real news. You're just looking at stuff. We don't even know what we're looking at, because the information warfare, the manipulation is designed so that you cannot see it. How do you see it? You have to know the truth. You have to have some basis of truth. And this is where these key periodicals in an economy come into play. Okay. Information warfare may involve the collection of tactical information, assurances that one's information is valid or invalid. See, somebody may tell you something and you don't know if it's real or not. Spreading of propaganda or disinformation to demoralize or manipulate the enemy and the public, undermining the quality of the opposing forces' information, and denial of information collection opportunities to opposing forces. Information warfare is closely linked to what they also call psychological warfare. Y'all all right? Okay. The battle over information has been a part of warfare from the very beginning. So advances in communication through the electromagnetic spectrum from further expanded the tools and possibilities of the field. Okay, you can go back to any war, look at anything. World War II, propaganda was used. It was an acceptable means of war. President Franklin Roosevelt realized very early that his nation had to not only be able to trumpet its lofty principles to the world, but also its power and capacity to wage war. And so for that purpose, he eventually established the Office of War Information to coordinate the American propaganda machine. Look at how our views on Africa have been influenced by propaganda. Most recently, we've heard about Russian interference in foreign elections, like the Russian interference in the 2016 elections. That's an example of information warfare. You hear about warfare going on between the Ukrainians and the Russians. We know about leaflets being dropped in the war against Iraq. In addition, something else for you to study that I found very, very, very informative was this document that was issued by the U.S. Army Heritage and Education Center called A Return to Information Warfare. So you can write that down. Put that in the chat. You got to go check that out. It was issued by, I'll say it again, the U.S. Army Heritage and Education Center, and it's called Return to Information Warfare. I referenced some of the statements, in this document earlier. And whether they admit it or not, information warfare has been very effective at brainwashing people to the point where they have been brainwashed so much that the brainwashed have become the brainwashers. That's a quote directly from our brother Tom Burrell, the great advertiser. He said that we have become so brainwashed that we are now the brainwashers. Put that in the chat. The brainwashed have now become the brainwashers. So it becomes very difficult to untrain a brainwashed mind. Yesterday, I don't know if you guys checked this out. Also, don't forget, make sure you like and subscribe to this page. I want to make sure that you all get the alerts if you like this information that we share. Look, this is all about love. It's all about loving ourselves. It's all about loving ourselves enough to know the truth and recognize truth when we see it so that we can spread love throughout the earth. Yeah, I'm just all about love. So you need truth in order to love. Yesterday, I did a live from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad house. How many of y'all saw it? I posted it on the Sajdah house page. Excuse me. I put all this pepper in my, I put black pepper and sometimes a little cayenne pepper in my tea to just kind of help with, I've been doing that ever since COVID. And today, I think I got a little spicy there today, but anyway, we'd be all right. I won't spice y'all up when y'all come to Sajdah House and get some chai tea. I'll leave out the pepper. Anyway, yesterday, like I said, I did a live from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, and we practiced using the Holy Quran to find answers to our questions and to seek guidance using a technique that Mother Tynetta had actually taught me, that I later learned that she received from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. She may have told me that, but I don't remember. But I just remember asking her why it was that she would put the Holy Quran to her forehead and kiss it on the front and back before she opened it, and she would say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we talked about that on the live, right? We kissed our Holy Quran on the front and the back, said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and we just practiced and relaxed and turned to Surah 21, the prophets. And I read the first section out loud, but later, as I was putting this talk together on the economic importance of information, I read the rest of it. And as I was reading it, I had the thought in the back of my mind that the means of mass communication, like Muhammad's Speak newspaper and today the Final Call newspaper, is so critical. And with that thought in the back of my mind, I came up to something that said, the Holy Quran in that same chapter, in verse 18, said, "Nay, we hurl truth against falsehood, so it knocks out its brains, and lo, it vanishes. And woe to you for what you describe." The footnote to that verse talks about the deep conviction of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to the ultimate triumph of truth in the world. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan are also dedicated and have given their lives to telling the truth, which we learn in our lessons and their writings and lectures. But moreover, they're dedicated to the establishment of the truth and dedicated to hurling truth at falsehood that has spread, impacted, and brainwashed us in a form of information warfare. This is why we have Muhammad Speaks newspaper and the Final Call newspaper and other Black periodicals, because we're hurling truth at falsehood, and we're creating a defense against the information warfare that has been launched against us. We use information warfare on our personal levels. We lie on or make statements about people in order to influence how others see them. And we use information to impact people's business and their livelihood. One could even say that the whole cancel culture is a form of psychological and information warfare designed to change your opinion about someone or something. Some of it's valid, some of it's not, some of it's too extreme, some of it's not enough. But it's all behind it is a manipulation, is a desire to manipulate truth. And if you've taken any classes in business, you know that advertising has long since been more than just sharing information about a product or services, but it's instead propaganda with subliminal messages that strongly influence the public. We see information warfare used every day on social media and in news. It's so commonly used today that, like I said, it's difficult to tell the difference between marketing and real news. Our economy is very sensitive to information. I don't know how much you all realize how our economy moves up and down. The vicissitudes of the economy are impacted primarily by information. So we live in a world today that there's not necessarily anything tangible that influences the prices that we pay for things. It's information. See, one statement made by a top economic influencer and the market can either plummet or it can grow. A word from the president or Warren Buffett or Elon Musk or something that goes viral on the internet can literally cause the stock market to crash. I remember Michelle Obama, our forever First Lady, talking about how her and her husband, President Barack Obama, understood how important their voices were. And they knew that the information that came from them could literally tank economies. And so they took great pride in being very careful about the information that they shared. See, economists are still scrambling not only to calculate, but to admit the economic impact of information on the economy, or the impact of information on the economy. And the internet, we can't even really calculate right now how the internet impacts our economy. Not only does it create jobs and productivity and efficiency in some cases, but just the information exchange is what is now the basis of our economy. It's not the gold standard anymore. It's not an oil standard anymore. It's an information standard. I'm going to say that again. We know the gold standard went out, in the 50s or 60s? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about that in The Fall of America. Then you had the petrodollar, which more recently has now become busted up since the recent war that we're in. So people can buy oil in a currency other than dollars, and the US dollar is no longer the standard. So now what fuels our economy is information, which is a very dangerous place to be in. Because when you base an economy off of information, and we're in the middle of the greatest information war in modern times, anybody can say anything that will impact what we pay for goods and services, how much we get, how much money we make. It can impact our safety. This information is serious. So including the Muhammad Speaks newspaper as a foundational part of the economy that he developed was very important. See, 500,000 newspapers being sold in 1 week was very impactful because, see, back then there was no internet. So that 500,000 per week could have the impact of 1.5 million per week if the newspaper shared with 3 other people. Having an independent source of information is a way to hurl truth at falsehood and knock out its brains. It gives those that read it a standard, something to stand on, a firm foundation. It gives people a means of comparison. The truth will resonate with them and cause them to question the falsehood that is disseminated in an effort to wage information war. The Muhammad Speaks newspaper at that time was the largest, most circulated Black newspaper in the world. It armed its readers with the truth. In the early days, when there was no Muhammad Speaks newspaper, which had become the official newspaper of the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad submitted articles to various local newspapers for publications. Some of those newspapers were the Herald Dispatch, the Amsterdam News, the Crusader, the Pittsburgh Courier. The Black press had been critical, previously to our sojourn here in America. See, these newspapers borrowed news gathering and reporting techniques and conventions from the mainstream press, but transformed them to speak to the unique circumstances of their reader. The most financially successful Black newspapers were published in Great Migration cities. Okay? Cities with a large population of Black migrants who had escaped from the South to up north after the Civil War ended in search of increased employment opportunities and a respite from racial antagonisms. Though the Black press dates back to the antebellum period, many of the most iconic legacy news institutions were founded between 1890 and 1920, including the Chicago Defender, I mentioned earlier, the Pittsburgh Courier, the Philadelphia Tribune, and the Baltimore Afro-American. Much of our history that threatens to become extinct can be found in those newspapers that were published in great migration cities. And let me tell you something, you all hear me talking about the importance of urban historic preservation. This is all part of this information warfare. Why is it important? Because our history in these great migration cities that occurred from 1972 really up through till today is all but extinct. Most of us don't even know many of the iconic people that lived in our communities and lived in these homes and these houses, because the houses have been destroyed. We fell for the trick of integration. And so next thing you know, we don't have the information. We don't have the black press anymore. You got other company. I can't even tell you. Let me just say this. Information warfare is real. You all know I founded the Black Muslim Business Directory. We have over 300 Black Muslim businesses there. We do the MOEToday series on Black Muslim businesses every week, every Wednesday. And I've had now 3 Korean companies offer to buy the Black Muslim Business Directory from me. That's how important your culture and your information is, our culture and our information. Culture vultures are everywhere, and it's all information now. It's readily accessible. So they can come, they can snatch the culture from you. They can do your dances and dress like you and sing like you and act like you and walk like you and I and do everything that we do and not give us credit for it, because we're not documenting anything. We're not preserving anything. We're not saving anything. And that's why you see going across the bottom of this page is SajdahHouseDonations.com, so that we support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, so that we can own and monetize our own truth. See, growing up, I remember how Jet and Ebony magazine promoted Black middle class, and how we would look at it and look at the fashion and look at how beautiful our people looked. And people like Tom Burrell led the charge that Black people were not just dark-skinned white people, forcing advertisers to see us as a viable market. This is what we're doing with the Black Muslim Business Directory, forcing people to see us not only as a viable market, but as investment worthy, as a new emerging market. With that publication, Jet and Ebony, for example, we began to see ourselves represented in national newspapers and magazines. The Black press market began to expand. The members of the Black press were what I would say an amalgamation of professional journalists, citizens journalists, influencers, pundits, everyday readers who all shared a stake in promoting civil rights, reporting the racial climates, and using their editorial voices to speak truth to power on the experience of racism. That is now happening today through the use of the internet. We're literally repeating this cycle in so many ways. This cycle that happened between 1965 and 1975, we're repeating so much of that. Not only do we see parallels in the economy, we see parallels in the information exchange. We see parallels in the abuse against Black people. We're starting to see these parallels over and over again. You see these terrible, terrible crimes happening at the borders to our brown brothers and sisters coming up from, in many cases, Mexico. I was just reading an article the other day where 59 people were found dead in a truck trying to cross the border. This is incredible. See, and so it's our press that will tell these stories, because a lot of that stuff will not make mainstream media. But you see, as the Black press market expanded, the information warfare ratcheted up. More counter information, more strategy-laden commercials and news reports designed to maintain the mental slavery of Black and brown people. Now we keep talking about the independent Black press. right? It's at the point now where you almost just got to find people who are like-minded. You can't even look at it as race anymore because the minds are now starting to divide. Anyway, now we talk about the independent Black press. And many hear the term independent Black press, but we don't understand what it means or why it's important. We think the Final Call newspaper is just that Black Muslim newspaper, or the newspaper that gets circulated in prison, and the newspaper that's just put out by them Black Muslims. We have all this degrading stuff. Or we see Muhammad Speaks newspaper as that old newspaper from back in the day. We don't see it for the powerful minister that it really is. That newspaper is a ministry. That newspaper is hurling truth at falsehood. We see these truth-bearing periodicals really not in the right light. They offer hope to the hopeless. I call them truth-bearing periodicals. Like I said, hurling truth at falsehood, sharing an aspect of our history that is often ignored by mainstream press. That's why I love now being able to go on the internet and see the truth. I read something the other day about some protesting and killing that was allegedly happening in Nigeria. And so I texted one of my friends over there, and he was like, "What?" He said, "Are you still believing your news?" And I thought that was so funny. He said, "You still believe y'all news?" And I said, "Man, you're right. Why am I calling you about this?" But anyway, these newspapers not only serve as a great source of revenue, but they counter information warfare by telling the truth, exposing adversaries, and sharing stories that inspire hope and drive customers to businesses in our community. So when you go to manifestationclass.com and download the accomplishments of the Muslims, you are accessing one written form of history that was designed to tell a story that countered the information warfare that had been waged against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Muslims. Muslims have contributed so much more to society than what has been documented. That is why it's time for us to tell our own stories. By documenting, owning, preserving, and monetizing our own story, we can pass information on of our great accomplishments. We can pass information to other generations. We can send information around the world. This is why including a rich information source in the economic structure, like the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, was so brilliant and is a great template for us as we move forward. That's why when you move into a community, the homeowners association got a newsletter, the alderman got a newsletter, neighborhood block club got a newsletter. Everybody understands the importance of exchanging information. It's critical. And again, this is why urban historic preservation is so important. It gives us an opportunity to control the narrative, to tell the truth, to demonstrate the truth. Let me know in the chat if you now have a better understanding of the importance of information in an economy. Information is so important. And you all hear me say all the time, I like to get all the information. Give me the bad information. Give me the good information. Give me what you think is not so good, not so bad. I learned a lesson on that just last week, but give me the information. Don't give me what you think I want to hear, because then what you're doing is you're really almost like, she said, post the link to the video, please. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just talking, just really getting into this. I missed, I saw that, but I'm gonna post the link to the video. Let me give it to you all right now before I forget, because you got to see that video. Here we go. Okay. This is the link to the video that I just showed. You can Just cut and paste it in the chat and put it in another browser, and then you can check it out. Okay, so what are y'all saying? What y'all think? Y'all understand the importance of us having information as a critical aspect of our economy, and why the messenger put that in the template, if you will? Sandra D says, yes, this is on point. Since Cynthia M says, great, thank you so much. Sandra D say, yes, this is on point today. Muhammad speaks, the final call. That's right. Let's see. Anissa said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's right. See, you need that information, because if you're making a calculated decision, then yeah. So Sis says she has a better understanding. Thank you. Brother Anthony says, absolutely. Praise be to Allah. Okay. Any questions about the importance of information? Anything we need to go over? Because what we're going to do next week, last week we covered real estate. This week we covered information. I'm going to stop talking. I think y'all got my point. Next week, we're going to talk about education. We're going to talk about independent education. And I want to point out a few things about independent education and the sacrifices that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Mother Clara, and the believers during that time made that allowed us to this day to have independent education. So now everybody's going to private schools and private Black schools and Black charter schools and Black independent education. I want you to know who the vanguards of Black independent education are. And so we're going to talk about that. So that's next week. Education is next week. Go and get that lecture. And I just posted the link in the chat. You can just cut and paste it. Make sure you listen to that. It's very, 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 very powerful. And it's important that we learn how to recognize truth and calibrate ourselves to truth, because there's so much information out there, and people are now putting information out there to drive economic dollars. So your money is not based on a gold standard. It's not based on a dollar. It's not based on oil. It's based on information. It's very important to remember. So when you hear certain information, you should be able to understand how that information is impacting your business, how it impacts your economy. And you can also understand the purpose of the information that is being shared. Okay. So with that, how many of y'all have already donated to Sajdah House, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House? Let me know in the chat if you got your coin. We're running low on these. I was down to 10, then I went down to 7. And then I found out that the Foundry, she had another 20 loose coins. And she just so happened to ask me what I wanted to do with them. And I said, you know what? Go ahead and make pendants, because the pendants are going fast. So they're almost gone. So if you don't have yours, you need to make sure you go out there and get it. If you follow me on Instagram, if you go to the link in the bio and scroll down, there's a link directly to get the commemorative coin pendants. If you just want the graded coins, you just go directly to sajdahhouse.com. And these pendants are made of recycled copper from the home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So we took the copper off the building that we could not use. We melted it at 1,983 degrees Fahrenheit, created a mold, and created the coin. Okay, that's very rare, because in most cases, they will make a coin out of their materials. In this case, they made a coin. You can see it up here at the top of the page, right there. Close up of it. They made the coin out of our material. So we took that old dirty looking copper over there, and we washed it, cleaned it, cut it, and melted it. Okay. And so I just want to say to each and every one of you who have donated how much I appreciate you, how much I thank you for your support. We're going to need your continued support, because as we're building, we have to make sure that we are sustainable. And so we're working on building a model that not only will be something that, inshallah, will make you proud, but something that will be sustainable as well. So with that, family, go and listen to the lecture. Make sure you go to manifestationclass.com. Saturday morning, we'll be around for the Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. I have some slots open. So if you all are looking for individualized coaching, whether it's on money psychology, improving your relationship with money, whether it's business consulting on your business itself, whether it's emotional intelligence, which is so key, emotional intelligence and your emotional fitness, if it's even authenticity coaching, or even if you're just looking to develop a business, or if you have a problem in your business and you got crisis management issues, let me know. Again, if you follow me on social media, go to the link in the bio and you can click that link and book a customized coaching session with me. There's nothing wrong with getting a coach. Everybody needs a coach or a mentor or some help, because what happens is oftentimes we have blind spots. And so somebody else coming in, even if you have partners, sometimes you can collectively get into groupthink and you have blind spots. And so to have somebody else come in and out of love and out of a desire to see you be successful, that blesses me oftentimes to see the things that maybe a lot of people can't see. And so with that, family, make sure you get your commemorative Elijah coins. We're working on the next event for you. I promise you it will be better and bigger and more exciting than what you experienced. And with that, family, we'll see you all Saturday for the Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talks.
The opposite of lies is truth. In this book, the Holy Quran, Allah says He created the heavens and the earth with truth. And this Quran says that every word of Allah is a creature. And this Quran says, if all of the seas with 7 more seas added to it were as ink, and all of the trees on the earth were as pens, you could never exhaust the word of Allah.